Today we look at the book of Daniel on day 119 of our journey through the Bible. Daniel, you remember, his three friends as well, were taken captive in one of the Babylonian raids against Judah. They were placed in special training as servants in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar. Their names and diets were changed, but they proved their Jewish food was superior. In chapters 2 through 7, Daniel and his friends met several additional tests to prove the God whom they worshiped was still in control. Cast into the fiery furnace, they emerged unharmed because of God's miraculous protection. Daniel, refusing to bow down and worship Darius, the king of Persia, was also thrown into a den of lions. But he was also saved by God's direct intervention. Daniel interpreted several visions and dreams for King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon and his successor Belshazzar. As he revealed the meaning of the mysterious handwriting on the wall, he made it plain that the Babylonian Empire would be defeated by the Medes and the Persians. This happened exactly as Daniel predicted. The final section of Daniel's book consists of a series of visions about succeeding kingdoms and the end of time. Standing by the Tigris River in one of these visions, he saw a goat attack a ram. The goat symbolized the Persians who would defeat the Babylonians. This goat had several different horns, representing the Greek Empire that would rise after the decline of the Persians and the subsequent division of the Greek Empire among the four generals of Alexander the Great. So impressed with Alexander when the book of Daniel was read to him that he treated the Jews with great respect. Daniel had another unusual look into the future known as the 70 weeks prophecy. In this vision, the angel Gabriel revealed to Daniel that the nation of Israel would be restored to its homeland after their period of captivity. This would be followed by many years later the coming of the Messiah, and then finally the final judgment in the end of time. Daniel also had a vision of the final judgment when the righteous will receive everlasting life and the wicked will receive condemnation. But Daniel didn't understand what he wrote. In Daniel 12:8, we read, "I heard, but I did not understand. Then I said, O my Lord, what shall be the outcome of these things?" Well, so accurate are all these prophecies that later liberal scholars who have no respect for the inspiration of Scripture insist that the book had to have been written by some unknown author about 400 years later than Daniel's time. Well, their skeptical theories were shattered by the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which produced a copy of Daniel much earlier than any of the late dates that they had tried to set for the book. The major contribution of the book of Daniel probably arises from its nature as apocalyptic prophecy. Highly symbolic in language, the prophecy was related to the events of Daniel's near future, and yet even today it contains messages for our future. In apocalyptic prophecy, these close at hand and far removed dimensions of the future often blend into each other. In chapter 9 of Daniel, the verses contain a full scheme for the history of Israel from Daniel's time to the age of the Messiah. The final week of the prophecy is symbolic of the age between the ascension of Jesus and his second coming. It's very interesting reading. Let me finish today by reading to you from Daniel chapter 5, one of those encounters he had with the Babylonian kings. King Belshazzar made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords and drank wine in front of the 1,000. Belshazzar, when he tasted the wine, commanded that the vessels of gold and of silver that Nebuchadnezzar his father had taken out of the temple in Jerusalem be brought, and that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Immediately the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster wall of the king's palace opposite the lampstand. And the king saw the hand as it wrote. Then the king's color changed and his thoughts alarmed him. His limbs gave way and his knees knocked together. Then all the king's wise men came in, and they could not read the writing or make known to the king the interpretation. Then Daniel was brought in before the king. The king answered and said to Daniel, "You are that Daniel, one of the exiles of Judah, whom the king my father brought from Judah. I have heard of you that the spirit of the gods is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now, if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom." Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Nevertheless, I will read the writing to the king and make known to him the interpretation. And you, Belshazzar, you have not humbled your heart, though you knew about your father Nebuchadnezzar, but you have lifted up yourself against the Lord of heaven. Then from his presence the hand was sent, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed, Mene, Mene, Tekel, and Parsin. This is the interpretation of the matter. Mene, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom